Hi. All right, so how many of you guys know this person? This anti-government, got it all sorted. So I've been a journalist, and let me just take you through a sense of what she really meant when she said, "Ye big gayi hai government." Was she just referring to just a government, and since she comes from Pakistan, was it only a reference there? And why did that entire video actually go viral all over India, all over the world? So since I was a journalist, let me begin with, say, an example on journalism and how it works. So for a moment, let's imagine you are, say, farmers living in a pre-independence village. You're out in the field, you come back in the evening, and there is some murmur, and people are discussing that there was an announcement that was made by Maharaja's men. And you're like, oh my God, so what was it? Tell us, tell me. So you go around asking people, and a couple of them don't know. So then you realize that maybe we should go to somebody who was actually there when the announcement was made. So you go to this person, and chances are that he could be the barber, right? Traditionally, they were the hubs of information in a village. Idhar ki baat udhar ki baat udhar. So you take the conversation flow, you ask him what really happened, what was the announcement about? And they tell you, the Maharaja has announced that the taxes are doubled. Duguna lagan. And you're like, oh, that's not fair. What do we do about that? And things, and then what you do, the things you do that we'll come to later, but you decide that, okay, this Power is a good guy. He's given me right information. You ask other people around and you verify and you realize that, okay, he was giving me the right story. I can trust him. Then you go on with life, other things happen, maybe some other announcement. Next time, the announcement happens, and, this time the Maharaja has got his senses back. He's like, okay, not duguna, but just del guna 1.5 times. So you're like, okay, at least we're moving forward. And you thank him. You go around to the barber, you thank him for giving you the right information. So that really brings us to the larger question of, whether news has existed before all these newspapers and these television channels and all these, mobile phone information that we keep getting on WhatsApp messages. So whether there was information flow, chances are it has existed forever. We've had information flow happening even when it was not organized. In fact, even our mythology suggests that, there have been characters who've been taking information back and forth, some very famous people too. So that really takes us to the larger question of, where is it that we feel news should be headed, right? And sharing of information has organically really evolved over the last few centuries. We've seen how some people take the initiative, they create their newspapers. People like you and me who are reading it will decide, okay, what's the printing cost? Say $100. We put in $100, we create that newspaper for that day. But we want to now expand, want more information. Kabaddi match happened in the village. Somebody's got to report on that. He needs more funds. So increasingly, he looks for other revenue options. He goes around these big business shops in the village and he says, what if you sponsor me? I put your ad on the newspaper, you pay me some money, win-win, I get money, you get ads, your business grows. That's all fine. So that's how traditionally news started growing. Globally, we saw creation of newspapers, and there were state newspapers and national newspapers and global newspapers, and news channels started coming in, cable TV. So the same model continued globally all over the world. But then came a point when that guy who was advertising said, okay, we're giving you X amount of money. What if we give you double this money if you also go around and in your newspaper, that article, you say that we are the #1 in what we do. Now that's a gray area, So people are like, oh, hang on. So what do I compromise on this trust I've built with people? The credibility I've built with people, they've been supporting me all these years. Do I compromise on that? This guy says, okay, what about 1.5 times of that? This guy is, sure, maybe. So, some people would just blink. And that's when things start moving in a certain direction. And then over a period of time, you realize that they are now beginning to control media. They decide how much money they want to give, and they decide what the media starts writing for you, what they start publishing. And then there comes a point when they decide, hang on, why are we giving them money for the ads when we are much more, wealthy than they are? So they're like, stop this business of advertising. Let's just stop controlling and buy the whole damn thing. And that's the point where a lot of people then decide that the news business is really viable. They are no more interested in controlling what you write. They now pay you a salary. So it really comes to a point where a lot of these newspapers who were earlier private enterprises only working towards writing what should be written for the society, for the reader, they were accountable to the reader. Now they're accountable to the person who owns them. And that brings us to the point of conflict of interest. And that's the largest debate that's happening in the media sector across the world. How is that bad? What's wrong with that? Somebody has the money, he's just buying something. So now imagine you want to go to a restaurant and you read, go through a couple of websites and like, is that restaurant really good? And then the website says, this is the #1 restaurant in all of India. And you're like, okay, we must go there, we must check it out. When you finally go visit the restaurant, you realize that there are rats all around. Why is that? Why did that really happen? Then you go cross-check and you find out that the websites you read it on are owned by the restaurant itself. Obviously, there is conflict of interest. Obviously, he's going to work towards his businesses. And the larger question then, and another example could be that you have a telecom company that owns, say, a big news channel, and then suddenly there is some murmur around there being a scam, but would this news channel that's now owned by the telecom company ever give you the right picture on a telecom scam? Chances are they won't. And that's how ye big gaya hai media, right? So this is where you and I need to come in. This is where you and I need to play a role ourselves. We decide that this is where the reader is superior to those who own it. And we are the crowd. And that's why we need to claim and reclaim what is ours, which is our free information, our news. What can we do about it together? You and me, what can we do about it? And that's my startup. It's called Crowd Newsing. And what we've been trying to do is we run social media campaigns where we try to really create videos and inspiring content to tell you if there's a good journalist trying to really come up with something really important, something that you and I are directly concerned with, that affects us. And what we try to do is we try to find them a market. We try to find them an audience. Again, people like you and me who are ready to pay $100 or $200, a small amount that can help that project take off. And let me give you an example of what we did. A very senior journalist called Paranjay Guha Thakurta, who's had a career full of investigative journalism, who's been exposing corporate political collusion and how they've been working together to benefit each other. And he's been somebody who's been working on those things. After a point, a lot of the news organizations are not able to hire him. They're not able to afford him because they feel this is a person who attracts a lot of trouble. So what do? Can we let investigative journalists just, be forgotten and scams happen all the time around us? And do we look beyond it? Anti doesn't really think so. Anti-government thinks we need to fight back. This is exactly what we did. We ran a campaign and 500 odd people came together. Somebody gave 100 rupees, 200 rupees. Some people gave 5,000, a little more. And finally, we raised 18 lakh rupees for his independent campaign. And guess what he's doing now? He is already working on a couple of other investigative stories, and we're hoping that it's going to come out, and we're going to hear more about that. Investigation is one part of journalism that has been really coming down and that needs to be supported. But then we also understand in this entire corporate-controlled media, the other problem is many marginalized groups like women, like Dalits and minorities and all these other groups, they tend to really get forgotten. Our entire system of ratings is not able to incorporate these smaller groups and their voices are becoming absent. Which is where a Lucknow-based organization called Dalit Media Watch came in, and we decided that Dalits in India, they need a voice, they need their media to be very vocal, and this organization basically puts together all the information that any news related to this community, and it shares with a wider audience, not just in India, but even globally. Then came a point where we realized that news is one part of fixing things, right? So you and I, we know being good is good. We know being transparent is good. We know paying our taxes is a good thing. We know clean money is a good thing. But that's the problem is many other sectors are not able to really accept those notions. We realized that to clean the system up, to fix a few things around, we need to really bring this whole idea of crowdfunding and empowering people like you and me into the mainstream. The most important part is we intervene in the political space. That's where we decided that how about instead of our MLAs and all our MPs and all our politicians all being supported by those with money power or muscle power, the strong men that you don't want to be associated with. We want to have our own lives. We don't want to be affected by that. But their policy making really affects us. How do we intervene? How do we change that? Can we bring in an idea of cleaning up our politics with clean money, with transparent white money? We tried that. We tried a pilot. There was this independent candidate who was contesting the recent elections in Gujarat. His name is Jignesh Mirwani. And we decided that he was very clear he did not want any funds from the builders or the corporates or other political parties. So we said, sure, let's run a crowdfunding campaign. We ran a campaign for 15 days. And by the end of the 15 days, he was busy campaigning on the ground. We were trying to raise funds online. By the end of this, we ended up raising more than 20 lakh rupees for Jignesh Mirwani. And he made sure that the entire campaign, all the expenditures done were paid with white money. So that was one intervention we made. Going forward, these are just pilots. We know it's going to be a tough battle ahead. We will be going down to the villages, to all the other tier 2 cities all across India, and we're hoping that we will be able to replicate these models so that when that villager is told once again that you have to pay a dugna lagan, not only is he able to take control of the information he needs, the news that he needs, but he's also able to mobilize people, the villagers around him, and fight back. Thank you so much.